So you formed your LLC. Congratulations. Now what? Forming your LLC is just the beginning. And there are a few critical next steps you must take in order to make sure that your business is set up legitimately, it's actually protected with asset protection, and you're legitimate in the eyes of the government. I'm Jeff Hampton, asset protection lawyer and author of Investor's Blueprint, Asset Protection Made Simple. And in today's video, I'm covering the 6 steps you must take, critical steps after setting up an LLC to make sure your business is legitimate and protected. Number 1, make sure when you set up your LLC, you have drafted an operating agreement. Every LLC needs an operating agreement. This is an internal document for your business and your operations that tells exactly how your business is to be run. I want you to think of this as like the rules for the relationship of your business. It lays out who the partners are. It lays out the capital distributions, who gets what are their priorities, what are the requirements and the expectations of the partners. When you talk about members or managers, it's really important this is laid out because if you get sued, let's say some greedy lawyer tries to come after you. They haul you into court. One of the first things the judge is going to ask for, the judge is going to say, let me see a copy of that operating agreement. I need to know exactly what kind of business you are and if you're legitimate. Now, some people don't understand why this really matters. Well, here's the big thing. If you have a well-written operating agreement, you're making it clear that this is a business, which separates your business operations and your assets from your personal assets. We really want to do this because if for some reason our business gets sued, the last thing we want is the greedy lawyer getting access to our personal assets. So it's really important that if you've set up an LLC, please go and check, did you have an actual operating agreement that was drafted, written by a lawyer, someone who actually knows what they're doing? Because here's why this matters so much. Having been a former personal injury lawyer, I would bring a lawsuit against an LLC, and the first thing I would want to see is that operating agreement. And if you didn't have an operating agreement, I would walk up to the judge and say, Judge, this is a joke of a business. They don't even have any rules for their business. It's not really a business. It's their alter ego. Let's treat them like it's not a business so that we can go after all of their assets. A well-drafted operating agreement removes this scenario by giving you liability protection and so that you can be treated like a real business if you ever get sued. Bonus tip here. Do you still need an operating agreement for a single member LLC? Absolutely. In fact, this is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make when they set up single member LLCs. If you don't have an operating agreement, many people are not going to see you as legitimate. Let's say you want to go get a loan. Maybe you're buying some type of rental property. Well, the lender's going to look at you and ask for a copy of that operating agreement. You don't look legitimate if you don't have an operating agreement. Same thing if you're going to get a loan just for the business itself. These are the kind of common things that people in professional associations where you're doing contracts, they're expecting you to have an operating agreement. Make sure you do it. It makes you look like a real business. Step number 2, apply for an EIN, better known as an employer identification number from the IRS. This is basically a social security number for your business. It's a unique federal tax ID because, of course, the government wants to make sure and get your tax money, but it also allows you to go and set up a business bank account. And it's critical that you have that EIN number attached. It's going to be associated permanently with your business, so that way all the activities going on within that business bank account are tied to something that is not directly in your personal name. What do you really need an EIN number for? Well, what about opening that bank account? What about filing taxes? What about handling payroll? Plus, it keeps your personal social security number off of your business documents, which is great when you start talking about dealing with people and you want to have some privacy about your business and not air out your personal situation to everyone else. So what's the best way to do this? Well, just go to the IRS website and you'll see one of the tabs on the website is to apply for an EIN number. I know it might sound intimidating, but it's really actually pretty easy. You can put together that EIN in as short as a 5 to 10 minute period, and then you're going to get that unique number. Now you can take it and go and open your bank account. Whatever you do, don't pay some online service, some amount of money to go set up your EIN when it will literally take you 5 or 10 minutes to do it on your own. But don't delay this step, because if you don't do it and then you try to go open a business bank account, you're not going to be able to do it or set up your payroll. You've got to have this EIN number first, and it'll make you legitimate in the eyes of the government. Step number 3, open your business bank account. This is so very important to set up your dedicated business bank account for your LLC. It's quite simple. You can either go to the branch of your bank in person and set it up in the name of your LLC using that EIN number, Or you can do it online through your bank. But this is critical to do it because now you want to make sure all of the revenues that you receive from your business flow not to you, but flow into this new dedicated business banking account, LLC. And now you can actually get a business credit card. You can pay all of your common expenses from the business within the business structure. So you're separating your personal assets from your business assets. Some people say, Jeff, I don't understand. Why does any of this matter? Because if you want to actually have some liability protection in the event of a lawsuit, you need to keep your personal and your business assets separate. If you don't, it's going to make it really easy for that greedy lawyer to come and do what's called pierce the veil of that LLC protection. One of the most common ways for that lawyer to be able to pierce the veil of your LLC and get access to not only your business account, but your personal account is for you to do what we call commingle funds. So if you're spending your time using your personal credit card and then reimbursing yourself from your business bank account, that's a problem. You're basically treating these as the same slush fund that you can pull money out of. You don't want to do it that way. Dedicate all of your business expenses and business activity to that business checking account or through your credit card or debit card, and then also keep all of your personal separate. That way you actually maintain the integrity of the veil of the protection of your LLC. So take your EIN number and your formation documents for your LLC, go to your bank, make sure you open the bank account in the name of your LLC. Now you can sign as the member of that and you can make sure and also have the authority, but you don't want to open it in your name. Put it in the name of your LLC and now you're in business. True story. I worked with an entrepreneur who did not keep the integrity of his LLC and his personal separate. And as a result of that, his business ended up being sued. And not only was the LLC veil of protection pierced by that lawyer, and he had to shut down his business, they were actually able to get into some of his personal savings and get into some of his personal assets in order to take care of that judgment because he did not maintain separate accounts and maintain the integrity of those accounts and not commingle funds. So treat your business like a business and keep those funds separate. Step number 4, apply for all your necessary business licenses and permits. This is really important. Now that you have your LLC set up, make sure you take out the permits and licenses that are needed for your business in the name of your LLC, not your personal name. Some types of permits and licenses that might apply to you include, we could be talking about professional licenses, general business licenses, zoning permits, seller's permits, health permits if you run a restaurant. It will all depend upon your industry and your location. Why do I say this is an important step you still must take? Because just because you set up an LLC doesn't mean you can legitimately run your business in your state. Many states and federal laws will require you to have certain licenses and permits. So make sure you have these in place because if you don't have them in place and you start running your business, you can end up facing steep fines or maybe even a shutdown of your business. Step number 5, update or create your business contracts. This is one of the most important areas that I see business owners overlook. Maybe they start off putting together all their contracts in their name. And so they sign off on all those contracts in their name. The problem is they're personally on the hook. So when you set up your LLC, now go back, look at your contracts or create contracts and make sure that every contract is in the name of your LLC and you are only signing off as an agent of your LLC, as a member or manager. But it's really important. This is one of the ways to make sure an established privity of contract. You want to make sure you're establishing that you are not personally liable for the contractual obligations of your business LLC. And by making sure you put it in the name of your LLC, that would be the proper person, the proper entity for that lawyer to sue and not you. You say, but Jeff, what if I already have contracts in place? What can I say? Well, you could send out a letter or an email to all your current contracts and clients by saying something like this. I just formed an LLC for my business. For our records, I'd like to make sure we have our agreement under my LLC now instead of me personally. Here is a revised contract for you to sign. Please let me know if you have any questions. In almost every case, any of your vendors or your clients are going to be just fine with this. And now you're going to be protected and have that contractual separation between you and your business. Now, how do you actually sign it? It's important that you sign it as the name of your LLC by your name. So for me, it would be STR Law Guys by Jeff Hampton, member, right? So why does that matter? You would want to make sure you identify the LLC, that you're signing on behalf of the LLC, and your position in the LLC, which is the member or manager. And watch out for this very common mistake. Don't keep using your old templates, your old invoices that still refer to you and not your LLC. Because when you do that, you're just completely throwing away a lot of the contractual firewall protection that you're putting in place with your new contracts if you keep using all of your old revisions and not replacing them completely. Finally, number 6, if you have employees, make sure you choose a payroll provider. If you are going to have employees or you're not going to do your own payroll, you need to make sure you set up a payroll provider that they get this in order so that way your books are in place like they're supposed to be, and you make sure you don't violate any of the payroll laws in your state. Let me just tell you from experience, payroll is one area you do not want to mess up with your business. A good payroll provider will automate everything for you: the calculations, the tax withholdings, the direct deposits, and even the tax returns. This will not only keep you compliant with your state and federal laws, but it'll also keep you in good standing with the IRS, because I can tell you right now, they will charge you pretty hefty fines and penalties if you don't stay on top of this. And you're going to also be able to easily keep up with your bookkeeping so that you know you have the right tax forms, everyone receives what they're supposed to receive. So that way, all of this doesn't start to snowball on itself if you're trying to handle it all on your own. Now, if you're a small business of one person, you may not need to do this initially. You may be able to have all this pass through and it's only one return and it's easy to keep up with. But if you decide you're going to do an S Corp, or if you're going to pay yourself like a W-2 salary, which is basically what would happen in an S Corp, you've got to make sure you're still in compliance with a lot of these payroll requirements under the IRS. Now, watch out for this common mistake, because I know how this works. When you first hire your first employee, you're kind of excited about it, but you're also trying to figure out, are these people going to stick around? Are they going to be a good fit for us? So maybe you don't start paying them and adding them in onto the payroll and following all those requirements. Maybe you just cut them a check out of your business bank account and you just keep going on. I'm going to warn you here. This is the start where things start to get a little out of control and you're going to miss some of those deadlines, those reporting requirements, or you're going to miss out on the tax calculations of what's owed to maybe your workforce commission for your local unemployment taxes and different things like that. That's when things can start to really spiral out of control and you can end up having a lot of interest and fees that will add up. If you don't just get somebody lined up from day one, it's easy for it to creep up on you. Forming an LLC is really important and a great step when you're first starting a business. But it's what you do after setting up that LLC that will determine whether or not that LLC actually provides you protection and helps you run a legitimate business. Now, what if you do all of this right? You set up your LLC, you start to manage everything properly, but you've decided to set up a single member LLC. Did you know that there are common mistakes with single member LLCs that can literally cost you everything for your business? Check out this next video where I break down the common mistakes and what you can do to avoid them when setting up your single member LLC. See you over there.